Hey, I'm Ryan Ashley, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a jewelry-inspired book lover's bookmark. I'm really excited to be bringing this activity to you because I love reading, I love books, and I love making jewelry. So I'm combining those passions because I know lots of you out there are the same. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tools we'll be using today. So first things first, 26 gauge gold tone wire, but you can use any tone you want. I do love the 26 gauge though, it's very easy to work with. Flush cutters, some 1 to 2 millimeter leather, you can go thicker if you'd like. Bent chain nose pliers. I have some tiny beads. Beads of your choice will totally work. And then we're also using a KNOTTY do-it-all. That's to hold my work in place so it's easy to maneuver, but if you don't have a KNOTTY do-it-all, you can totally use things you have at home. I have taped my work right here, right at that knot spot to a workbench before. I've secured it to a heavy, like a bead organization box. So lots of solutions if you don't have this piece. All right, to get started, I go ahead and cut 3 pieces of leather cord. I have about an arm's length here. I have a lot of leather, but really you only need about 25 inches. What we're gonna do is add beads to the ends, make little dangles. We're gonna do a braid and then dangle the other side. So the braid is what lays directly in your book. So what I've done here is I've taken my 3 strands of leather and I've tied a knot in each of them. And I want these to be slightly different lengths because I like the idea of kind of like an asymmetrical kind of tassel look hanging out of my book. And I want them to be about this long. So the first thing I'm going to do is clip it into my KNOTTY do-it-all or secure it to my workstation with a piece of tape or whatever works for you. And then I'm actually going to create a little wire wrap with my 26 gauge wire. So I'm going to kind of pivot this just a bit to get some good leverage here. And then I'm going to hold this in place with my fingers, but often I use my bent chain nose plier to hold things in place right here. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this around this wire, this leather a few times, just to get a really nice, clean, finished look and also to keep my leather secure as I'm working with it. And if you'd like to work with a shorter piece of wire, you can always work with just a few inches at a time. And I'm actually going to shorten mine now because I see that it's getting in my way. And just like that. All right, so I feel pretty good about this wrap here. Just going to do a couple more and then use my flush cutters to snip it. Okay, so I want the snips to both be on the same side just so they're kind of hidden. I take my flush cutters and I go ahead, let me switch this so you can see it. Go ahead and clip and clip. And then I take those same bent chain nose pliers and I just kind of pinch them into the end. I don't really want to change the shape of the rest of my coil, so I'm really focusing in just on that one wire. Kind of gonna squeeze that in just a tiny bit. The key here is little movements. I find that with wire, it really helps if I just do little tiny movements at a time, so that way I don't change the shape of what I'm working on. So now that that's done, I'm going to turn it back over just so I'm looking at all of it's kind of right side up. Now I'm going to add wire to this side of the leather. And I'm actually going to go ahead and use one of my other clips from the KNOTTY do-it-all just to hold it in place as I'm working with it. Let's see what's going to be best here. Okay, I'm going to scoot this in so you can see it. And now going to grab some more 26 gauge wire and grab a few small beads that I love because I'm going to wrap them around this leather. It's going to be super easy, super fun. So again, I could hold it with my thumb, my forefinger, or I could use chain nose pliers to help me hold this wire in place. I'm going to wrap it around 3 times. And if you've been watching Jewel School on broadcast, you know that we've been doing a lot of this for jewelry. So if you like the look of beads wrapped around leather with gemstones, you can definitely make wrap bracelets and necklaces using this technique as well. It's really fun, really easy, a great way to dress up your boho look. So I am finding the hole of this bead. There we go. putting the bead on and wrapping it around. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave my ends, so when I get done with each of these little wrapped beads, I'm going to use my flush cutter to cut the wire, and then at the end I'm going to pinch them all into place, just so that way it's more of, goes a little bit quicker, more of kind of an assembly line vibe, because I can take forever if I do each one individually. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Here, look at that. There we go. Perfect. And then I'm going to move on down a little bit further on the leather. And you can do your wraps, make them as long as you want. I like to do about 3 to 5 wraps. I really like 3. I think that's a really nice amount. Has a nice look to it. Let me grab a different bead this time, because I really want everybody to notice my bookmark. This also makes a great gift for the holidays because you really don't even have to be a jewelry maker to make this. Go ahead and get a few beads and a couple tools, some leather, and you're good to go. You don't have to have a whole studio. And I don't know anybody who reads nothing. So if you know someone who has a journal, reads a magazine, has a planner, I mean, I use bookmarks for a lot of different things, and I'm sure that folks you know do too. So again, I'm just cutting this with my flush cutter. And then I'm left with this. This is a little bit short to work with. It's kind of hard with a piece that short, 2 inches. So I'm going to use that longer piece and get myself a little more wire. And I'm going to do one more here and then go to the next. And so now this time, I'm actually wrapping it with my left hand. There's a lot of different ways to do this. I just want to show you a couple different ways so that whether you're right-handed or left-handed, or you like to use your hands or like to use tools, you kind of get some different tips. So I'm doing the last bead on this piece of leather, and then I'm going to move on to the next. Just wrapping. And if your leather gets in the way, just tuck it somewhere. You get a little wild. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this last one, and now before we move on to the next cord, I'm going to go ahead and pinch those little sticky ends into place so they're done and out of the way. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and pinch that one down. I'm going to actually kind of see how these are starting to spread apart. I kind of want to pinch those in a little bit. That's perfect. Okay, this one's kind of sticking up a little bit, so I'm pinching that over. There we go. And I think I might need to actually snip a little bit more, and that's okay. There we go. All right, turning it to get to that end, being sure that I'm not crushing the rest of my coil, just really focusing on that one little piece. Twirling this around to find my end. There we go. Just want to make sure that no matter what you're doing with your bookmark, if you're throwing it in your purse or your pocket or you're holding it, you're giving it as a gift, there's no sharp ends to, you know, be uncomfortable. All right, so let's move to the next leather cord. Okay, same thing, just clipping it into place, or if you're at home and you don't have a KNOTTY do-it-all, you can use tape, your workbench. There are lots of different ways to do that. Now I'm going to show you, if you're one of those folks who likes to use a plier to keep your wire in place, I'll show you how to do that. So I just use that to grip. I'm just holding it there. You can also use, like if you have a tweezer, one of those tweezers that kind of stays shut, that's a really great one too, because you can just clip it and then you can let go. All right, so I'm going to add my bead. Okay, on to the next one, and then we will start braiding. So I'm just going to do one here. And let's see, I'm deciding where on the leather I want to do it. So I'm holding these two up. I think it'd be cool, nice and balanced. There's really nothing on these two sides, so I'm just going to add one right here, kind of in the middle. And I'm going to do one of my little gemstone beads. So here you can see I did 3 wraps on this one on the shortest one in the middle, and then 2 on the third piece of leather. Just to kind of mix it up, because when you hold it together, it kind of looks cool like that. I'm glad that they don't all match up right side by side, because it kind of makes it look like there's more going on than there actually is. So now I'm going to go ahead and pinch this and start braiding. Make sure this is in the middle for you to see. And then I'm just going to do a standard braid here. There are lots of different braids that you could do. You could do a 4-strand round braid. I love doing those. You could do a 4-strand braid. I like this one because it is simple. It works great with 1 to 2 millimeter leather, and it lays flat, which is exactly what we want for our books or our planners, our journals, magazines, whatever you're reading. And if you're thinking of who to give this to over the holidays, and you have a friend you're thinking, well, they're not really boho, they're really into more like flash and glitter, you can wrap the ends of this leather to your heart's content. You could wrap it full of glittery Swarovski crystal beads. Could you do diamonds? I think you could, definitely. We have some diamonds in stock, some diamond beads. That would be really fabulous. And you'd only need a few for each bookmark, and your friends would be really impressed. So, all right, here we go. I'm done with this part of the project. So I'm gonna move this back into the middle here and clip my braid. And now I'm going to wrap it with that same 26 gauge wire to keep everything in place. This is kind of a tight spot. I'm actually going to use my chain nose here to help me, because I know I'm not going to get a good grip without it. All right, so I'm gripping it this way to get right in there. It's so handy, you can get in those little corners. Okay, let me clip it in here too. Sometimes I think I have 3 hands. I don't, just 2. All right, so wrapping this around to keep everything in place so that I can add beads to the ends on this side. All right, feel pretty good about that. So now I'm just going to take this out, clip and pinch those little ends. Get those out of the way. All right. I'm cutting these ends a bit longer than I actually want them, so that way I have enough room to tie knots and figure out where I want them all to land. So I'm cutting them here, just all the same length, and then I might cut them different lengths when I'm done knotting them. And this part, I really don't think too hard about it. I just kind of pick a spot and make a knot. That's one of the things I love about this project, is you really don't have to do too much planning. Okay, and I like to add them in different spots, so it kind of feels like there's some different variety, there's some balance in the design. I love creating designs that are balanced, but they're not exact. You know, not everything has to match to be really thoughtful and intentional. Okay, I need a bit more wire. I'm running out here. So I'm gonna cut some more from my spool of 26 gauge wire. And then I'm gonna cut it into smaller pieces as I go so it's easy to work with. All right. Now, I'm clipping one of these pieces in at a time so I can really work easily with it. Let's see, scoot that over. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing as before and just a couple of wraps. I do 3. Oops, this is a little bit not taut enough for me. There we go. All right. And these are in my way, so I'm gonna just scoot them under here so they kind of just stay out of my way. If you're working on a workbench and you don't have the KNOTTY Do-It-All, you can like tape those to the table just to keep them out of your way, and that's really helpful. And you'll notice that with the KNOTTY Do-It-All, I'm clipping them and I'm getting some kind of ridges in my leather. You can totally take a little piece of fabric or a little piece of tape and add it to the inside of these little clips just to make sure that doesn't happen on yours. I don't mind it, I like a little texture, but if you're one of those folks who's like, nope, if I didn't mean to add it, I don't want it, then that's the way to avoid it. Okay, perfect. Last one. And then we're done. Look at that. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to curl up with a good book. We just got finished making the jewelry-inspired Book Lovers bookmark. Let's go ahead and go through the tools one more time. I used a KNOTTY Do-It-All to hold everything in place. You can use tape or other things at your workbench at home. We also used 26 gauge gold tone wire, but use the tone of your choice. That's the perfect gauge for wrapping though. Used a 1 to 2 millimeter leather. Used about 25 inches, but 3 strands of that to make a good braid. Bent chain nose plier, flush cutter, and tiny beads of your choice. Thanks so much for joining me to make the jewelry-inspired Book Lovers bookmark. If you want to go ahead and pick up supplies like the ones I used today, make sure to go ahead and check the links in the description below. And tell me in the comments, what's your favorite book? Mine is 100 Years of Solitude. So I definitely want to chat with you, hear what you are loving, what you're reading right now. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you can get notified every time we publish a new episode. And now that you've created your own Book Lovers bookmark, you can say, I made this.